Good day, lords and ladies, and welcome back to Medieval Knights. I am TJ West, and thank you for joining me on this Icarus First Cohort Tier 1 and Tier 2 crafting. Well, basically, it's a guide. It's a how-to. Now, this storm is kind of loud, so why don't I go ahead and get myself in my shelter here that I've got built. Now, it looks pretty packed because it kind of is. I've kind of put Tier 1 and 2 together, and the reason I did that is because if you notice here, the Tier 1 is a character crafting scenario. So you actually craft that on your person here under the crafting portion. Now there's inventory, which shows you your character, what you're wearing. It shows you the different ports that are on your suit, for example, oxygen, water. And then your inventory here. Now, if you go over to crafting, this is going to be the Tier 1 section. So anything you can craft in the Tier 1 section. And we're going to be going over all of that today. So for the Tier 1 crafting, I've broken it down into 4 different portions. The first one is buildables. The second tier is tools. And then there is medical aid and other useful items. So the first tier is your buildables, your wood and stone piles, which if I go to the tech tree are here. They are automatically unlocked as soon as you enter the game at level 0, typically on Beachhead Recon. As well, the stone axe and stone pickaxe under tools, they are also unlocked. So to continue with the buildables, we have our campfire. We have 2 sets of torches. We have, or actually, I'm sorry, 3. Wood rag torch, wood torch, which is going to last longer than the wood rag torch, and also the floor torch for your house or structure that you're going to live in. As well with that, the bedroll, and then you have the fire pit, the oxidizer, which I have to scroll over to get to. After the oxidizer, which converts oxite into oxygen, it allows you to store 10 oxite into it, and then you could take a breath or fill your oxygen from your suit, or for your suit. So this has oxygen in it. I can hit F and consume some. Although I have an O2 tank on, so it's not really going to consume anything. So it'll store 10 oxite, it'll process it into oxygen, and then allow you to just come up and fill your suit. Moving forward, we have a small wood crate, which I have crafted one. It's next to the furnace here. It's just holding a small campfire. That is kind of useful if you find yourself with excess just stuff on you that you don't really need at the time, but that you're also looking to hold on to and not just drop or destroy. All right, so moving forward, we have the drying rack, which is outside, and it's not going to be doing anything now. It already dried the game meat that I had just put in it. But it's not going to be doing anything now because it is raining outside. All right, so next we have the medium wooden crate, which I do not have built or unlocked. I find the small wood crate is enough for me. I don't typically hang on to things too often. But if you want to build a medium wooden crate, it's going to take you 32 fiber and 32 wood. And a tech tree point, you'll have to spend that to build it here. Moving forward, we have the thatch structure, which is down here at the end. And I know I'm passing over a lot of things on the bottom there. We are going to go over those. They're just not in this section of the character crafting that I am referring to now. So the thatch building is on top. I don't like to use it, and I haven't even unlocked it because it breaks in a storm. The whole thing will completely get demolished in one storm, if it's a bad one like the one we're having now. So I typically go straight for the wood beam and the wood structures instead of wasting or spending points up here. That way I can have a more durable structure, and if I go ahead and go into the tools and I get this wood repair hammer, I can typically keep up with the repairs with how fast it deteriorates. So with that being said, we're going to continue. That was it for Tier 1. That is the first section. That's it for the first section of Tier 1 crafting. Second section is going to be tools. So we have the stone axe and pickaxe and knife. We also have a wooden spear, a wooden bow. So there's the wooden spear. There's the wooden bow. Stone arrow, bone knife, bone spear. So we're going to go stone arrow, bone knife, and bone spear. You have to unlock the bone spear by unlocking the wooden spear. Wood repair hammer, which is something that I always get very soon so I can keep my structure up and not have to build new parts to it. As well as the building upgrade tool. It is not actually usable in game yet. All right, so let's continue. The building upgrade tool is meant to upgrade your buildings, but it's not actually implemented in the game yet, so we'll be looking for that in future updates. For now, we'll continue with the flare arrow and cloth armor pieces. So the flare arrow is something that you can create in tier 1, and that is because it only takes a stone arrow and 2 sulfur to create. Now what this does is when you shoot it into the sky, if you have friends on the map with you, and you can't really see them on the map, they can shoot a flare arrow in the air and kind of signal to you where they are. And that's what that is supposed to be. As well, I believe it puts something on the map as a marker for them that allows you to, like, traverse your way to it. So moving forward, we're going into the cloth armor stuff. Now, this is going to help you out in... It's not really a good defensive armor. It's more for the elements and weather. Now, there's another couple of arrows, but we're going to discuss those later after we get out with the tools. And since we finished talking about the cloth armor pieces, there are a couple that are going to be important for you to unlock and use. And the first one is going to be the fire whacker. Activate. All right, so it's not on fire right now, right? Seems like a good plan, right? Oh no, I'm on fire. Oh no, oh no, my building's on fire. Ah, okay. I'm not on fire anymore. But the building is. And without the fire whacker, you have no way to put it out. It will continue to burn and burn and burn. Oh, it lit the front on fire. And I think I'm on fire. I am. Alright, so we're just gonna fire whacker this. And then fire whacker this. But as you can see, the fire whacker is definitely something worth getting because it can save you a lot of heartache in the future if you accidentally light your house on fire. Alright, so that's the fire whacker. Now let's look at the bone sickle. I'll just harvest the berry bush by hand. So if I harvest this fern, I get 6 fiber, 1 stick. If I take a same fern and I click the bone sickle, I get 36 fiber. And then another 32 wheat. So it's worthwhile to actually go ahead and use the bone sickle to harvest things. Alright, so moving on. That was the tools section of the character crafting, number 2. Number 3 is the medical aid. Oh, I think I need to be on the other side of it. There we go. Alright, so now it gave me a laceration. I'll go ahead and kill it right now. We're going to go back home. Now, medical aid, and this is part of tier 1 crafting again. Medical aid just requires certain things to build or make certain things. So like this basic bandage takes 40 fiber. A suture kit, which will heal a much deeper wound. A deep laceration, I believe is what they're called in the game. You will need a suture kit. Heat bandage is for frostbite. A cooling bandage, where's it at? Cooling bandage is for heat stroke. You have ice water to help with heat. Like if you're getting overly heated in game, you can use ice water to kind of cool your character down. A splint is used to actually fix a broken leg. If you take pretty good fall damage, then the splint is going to expedite your time healing a broken leg. The antibiotic paste is if one of your cuts or lacerations gets infected, either a minor laceration or a deep laceration. This antibiotic paste is going to help you heal from that. So that is... There's also more than that. There is antibiotic. There's a whole bunch of different antibiotic pastes and stuff that you can make. So I don't have them unlocked. There's anti-poison paste, which will help you against the bluefish in the water. It'll also help you against the worms in the caves. There is anti-parasitic paste. I think this is for parasitic infections. For example, if you drink dirty water or bad water, blood thinning paste for physical trauma, afflictions on self. It also helps with health regeneration. So there's so many other different things as far as medical aid go that you can experiment with. So I do know the antibiotic paste is for infections. The anti-poison paste is if you get poisoned by a worm or a fish. Not too sure about the antiparasitic paste, and I'm pretty sure the blood thinning paste is for concussions. So that is that section of the character crafting. The last section is useful items. Now, I wasn't sure how to describe these two because they are useful things that you can do, but they're not really items. They're creating items. So the first one is the rope. And this is something you can do on yourself, or you can use, I think, the textiles bench to do this as well. So you don't necessarily need to buy this. You can do it from the textiles bench. Also, this is very handy. I didn't know that I could do this, so I went ahead and was trying to gather sticks the hard way. And then a friend of mine, Mike, he told me that there is a blueprint that I could spend, or a blueprint point that I could spend to convert wood into sticks, and that is this one here. And this is helpful because if you're trying to make a lot of stone arrows, you need a lot of sticks. And a lot of the time you spend your sticks doing other things like making tree sap to make epoxy, and there's so many other things. So you kind of need sticks for those things, and this makes it a lot easier for you to gain those. You just chop down a tree and use that wood to make 10 sticks apiece. All right, so that's the other useful items. Now, moving on from here, there are a couple things in Tier 1 that you actually need Tier 2 structures to build, and buildables. And the first one is fire arrow. For, well, if you can see that, and I'm going to circle it here right now, you need gunpowder and a stone arrow. So gunpowder is a Tier 2 item craft. As well here, you need poison paste and a stone arrow, and poison paste is also a Tier 2 item craft. So let's go ahead and move on to Tier 2. Tier 2 is going to start with the crafting bench. As you can see here, there are a few other things that I can make. I'm going to drop some stuff off here, just random stuff I don't need on me anymore. There we go. All right, so Tier 2 crafting, I've broken down into 3 main sections. Now, there is a tools section of this, but the first two, and I'm actually going to go to sleep here real quick. This bedroll is a Tier 1 tech tree unlockable. And what it does is it allows you to rotate, or not rotate, but it allows you to cycle through the nighttime. So anytime after 1800, you could sleep in the bed as long as there is a campfire lit beside it. And it'll take you to the morning time at 7 o'clock in the morning automatically. So there we go. And it's already 7 o'clock in the morning. It's going to be a little bit lighter. You can actually see the sun is starting to come up. So it really just automatically transitions you back into daytime. Something very vital to have, especially if you're doing a lot of out and about gathering and then coming back to build stuff like I've been doing. It's very useful. Not quite sure what that is. But anyway, so I crafted up a bandage because I do have a laceration. As you can see here, it's a wound. You're bleeding and no longer regenerating health. Use a basic bandage to stem the bleeding. So what I did was I went into Tier 1 crafting and I built a basic bandage. This is part of the medical aid that I referred to before. And now I'm going to go ahead and equip it and then left click and hold. And now the wound is gone. All right, so again, we're back onto Tier 2 crafting. I'm going to go ahead and start with buildables, and we're going to use the tech tree for this. I'm not going to use the crafting bench for this. It's much easier to show you here because I don't have everything unlocked or built. So first and foremost, we're going to start with the oxide dissolver. Now this is useful because it takes sulfur and oxide and turns it into oxygen, of which you can fill your tanks. And by tanks, I mean the oxygen bladder here or an O2 tank from space. The next thing is the rain reservoir, which I do have one outside. This is going to catch rain anytime it storms. Now what you can do here is either drink directly from it or place your water skins inside of it, and it's going to refill them automatically using the rainwater. The stone furnace is the next thing I need to talk about. That is right here. It is your basic material production. It smelts your metals for you, but it only smelts iron and copper. It's a very basic furnace. Fireplace. The fireplace is important because aside from the campfire, it is your next main way to cook food. And it's actually a lot safer than the campfire. As you can see, I have things buttered right up to the front of it, and they're not catching on fire. Next is the wall torch. Now, the wall torch is here. Let me go into the tech tree here. It's right there. They kind of brighten up your room, brighten up your house. The next thing I want to talk about is the brazier, which I haven't built one, but it's another source of light. If you want to keep a brazier in the middle here, you could, and it's going to illuminate. I believe it is safe, although, again, if you light yourself on fire, you're going to light your building on fire. The next is a wood cupboard and icebox, those of which I have not built, so I'm going to go into the tech tree. And tier 2, we have a wood cupboard, a place to put necessities and the rest, so it's just a bigger section like a crate. The icebox keeps your food cool. It stores food at low temperatures when supplied with ice. I have the skinning bench, which I kind of set this one up so that way you could see exactly what it does. Now, I'm going to go ahead and use this, and then we'll go hunt a deer and see what we get. So if I go in here and I select deer carcass, it's going to show me everything that I received from the deer carcass. So if I craft it, and like that, I got all of this. So I'm going to go out and hunt a deer now, and then we're going to see the difference in the materials received. All right, so we got like 30 leather from the skinning bench, and we're going to get 26 leather, 4 fur, so you can see it's a very diminished amount. All right. So don't switch to your knife. With the skinning bench, you really don't even need a knife. You just have to carry it. So you pick it up, you take it back to the skinning bench, you drop it down there, and boom. Press F. Now it's there. Nope, wrong bench. Now we're going to click the wolf carcass and craft. And that's how you use the skinning bench. All right, so moving on, that took a little bit longer than I would have liked. We're going to move to the trophy bench. Now, I haven't used this yet. As far as I know, it is for you to like decorate a home on Icarus. But again, you're only on a planet for 7 days or 30 days, depending on the map you choose. And the 30-day ones are like just free builds. So you can use it to get like nice houses and take pictures of stuff like that. But it's really not something that you actually need to have. All right, moving on, we're going to move to the cooking station and potbelly stove. So those I did build. The cooking station is essential for making animal fat, which is what I did. You take raw meat and turn it into animal fat. It will also make creamed corn if you have animal fat and corn. It'll make wild salad with pumpkin and squash, and fruit salad with watermelon and wild berries. So at this time, I'm going to take this fat and we're going to go to the potbelly stove. Now, I put this one outside and kind of put a structure over it because it doesn't like to snap into place on a floor. Instead, it likes to be on the ground for some reason. So I'm going to go ahead and place this animal fat in here, and we're going to make some crispy bacon. We're going to make 5 of it. Oh, it requires fuel. Okay. So we need some coal. Nope, we could take the furnace coal because it's not producing anything right now. All right, we're going to put this in here. It also says that it can be used for heat. I haven't used it for heat yet, but I believe it's actually pretty decent. Oh, I need to delete that because it's not going to automatically go. And there we go. And now that's going to cook up some crispy bacon for us out of the animal fat and raw bacon. If you notice, I had fatty T-bones on me as well. I'm going to put those on the drying rack. Actually, I'm going to split the stack and put half on the drying rack. And then I'm going to go in here and put half on the campfire, just to show you the difference between campfire food and drying rack food. Oh, and there's a pop storm. That's all right. We're almost done with this. Okay, so all right, so moving forward, we've gone over pretty much everything up to the pot, or including the cooking station and potbelly stove. Now we're going to talk about the wood composter and wood crop plot. Now, these two kind of go hand in hand because the wood composter actually creates fertilizer. And that is what you use in the wood crop plot. So I'm going to go ahead and take 2 out of this, and we're going to go to the roof. I know it's lightning out, but I'm not afraid. All right, we'll go to the roof. And now we have a bunch of food already crafted, or already grown. We're going to harvest this. And then we're going to put them back in to grow more. Now, they do deteriorate over time, so you have a certain time limit before you have to harvest it. And we're just going to put these in here randomly. Just make sure they all go back in. And they're going to grow more. If you need to grow more of something and less of something else, just plant it. All right, so that's the wood crop plot. Let's see. What is the next thing? Medium wood hedgehog. And, well, this is kind of miscellaneous buildables. We'll go into the tech tree for this. So this is going to be the medium wood hedgehog. It's a defensive unit or defensive structure for your base, for your house. It's something you could put outside it puts itself at an angle, and wolves and other predators who are going to come attack your walls will run into that instead and take damage. Moving forward with that, the next thing is lightning rod, lantern, and leather curtain door. These are individuals on here because they are individuals. You only need the crafting bench in order to make them and unlock them. So they just kind of are other things that you can make to decorate your house. Say you have a room inside your house that you don't want to have to open the door for. Put one of the heavy-duty leather curtains up there. It'll still keep the elements out, but you can just walk through it. Okay. So that is the buildables. The second part of the tier 2 crafting breakdown is the progressive buildables. Now that means those are buildables that you build and then you have to unlock, well, you unlock and build them, and then you have to unlock further things to make in them. So for example, first and foremost, the mortar and pestle. As soon as you unlock it and craft it, there are a few things that you can do with it, but most of them are unlocked here. Crushed bone, poison paste, gunpowder, steel bloom, carbon paste, epoxy, flour. The crushed bone is extremely useful because then you can use it to make epoxy. So you don't necessarily need sulfur and tree sap to make it. You can use crushed bone to make epoxy in the mortar and pestle, and you don't need to unlock it. Gunpowder is another useful thing. It's sulfur and charcoal. Now, this is one of the tier 1, tier 2 crafting things with the fire arrow and poison arrow. So you need this gunpowder here in order to make the fire arrow, and you need poison paste to make the poison arrow. That's why they are tier 1 and tier 2 craftables. Moving again into the herbalism bench. That is another one of the things to where it will unlock more things to craft the more you actually go in and unlock in the tech tree. Again, it's a progressive buildable. So as you progress, you'll be unlocking new recipes for it and new things to do with it. That's just how I label it. The next progressive buildable is going to be the textiles bench, and this is where a lot of your armor is crafted from, as well as a leather backpack. If you don't have a space backpack to bring, this is the next best thing. Unlocking it, crafting it early, it unlocks so many more slots for you to hold things in, so it's definitely one of those mainstays if you don't have a space backpack. Now the leather head armor is unlockable, the fur head armor is unlockable, and again, these give you more benefits as far as physical resistance, exposure resistance, cold resistance. The leather gives you a plus 4% cold resist. The fur gives you a plus 7% cold resist. So as you can see, the better you get, the better they are. The ghillie suit adds a perceived threat and heat resistance, but not cold resistance. It's also going to give you less exposure resistance and physical resistance, but you're not going to be noticeable as much. The polar bear chest armor and just the polar bear armor in general, if you get all of the pieces, if you craft all the pieces, then you actually get bonuses in movement speed in the Arctic and bonus perceived threat. And it also gives you the best heat and cold resistance, as well as the best exposure and physical resistance. So if you don't have the space armor, this is, you know, top notch. This is one of those main, you know, top things. The next best thing to get would be to move up in levels and upgrade that armor to the next set, which we will go over in tier 3 crafting in another video. So moving forward, the next thing I would like to talk about is the masonry bench and carpentry bench. So these two benches are not necessarily used. You don't necessarily need to build them in order to be successful on Icarus. However, the masonry bench is one of those things that if you build it and you craft from it, you will be more successful than if you hadn't. Your buildings are going to last a lot longer. You're going to spend less time repairing your buildings, so on and so forth. The carpentry bench, however, you can almost get away without having until you need the refined wood. But everything else that can be crafted, except for these two here, can be crafted on your person or at the crafting bench. But these two here are solely for the carpentry bench, and I believe those are tier 3 unlockables. So if you're working with tier 2, you're not going to have to worry about those two at all. You really won't even have to create until you're ready to move into tier 3 territory. All right, so again, let's move into the last of the progressive buildables, and that is going to be the Anvil Bench. And now this is the progressive buildable only in the sense that when you build it, it will unlock the ability to unlock different tools. So you have the iron axe and pickaxe, you have the steel pickaxe and axe, you have an iron knife, iron spear, steel knife, steel spear, as well as shovel, taxidermy knife, iron sickle, crossbow, obviously iron bolt, copper bolts, and steel bolts for the crossbow, as well as an iron hammer and a steel hammer. Now the iron hammer and the steel hammer are going to last a lot longer than the wooden hammer does when it comes to repairs. They also have a negative 10% action hold time, so you have to wait less in order to do it again, is basically what that means. So if you plan on staying on a planet long enough and you have buildings or a building that will deteriorate, it is definitely something you're going to want to invest in, the iron hammer and the steel hammer. All right. From there, that is all that the Anvil Bench will make. So that ends the progressive buildables. Moving on to number 3, the third part of the crafting table breakdown or tier 2 breakdown is tools. So to start with this, we have the tools made from the Anvil Bench, which I just went over. The iron axe, pickaxe, steel axe and pickaxe, all of that other stuff that I mentioned before. But also, you have these other things in it that are not made from the Anvil Bench, like the water skin, the oxygen bladder. You have the longbow right there with the flint arrow, and those are crafted at the crafting bench. So if you want and you have some extra iron ore that you're not going to use, go ahead and throw some sticks and leather together and make some flint arrows. You're going to do phenomenal with them. So that ends the tier 2 crafting breakdown. So we've gone over the tier 1 and 2 crafting menus and what all is required for that. The one thing that I did want to mention is some of these benches actually do things that you wouldn't expect them to at first. So for example, the furnace is not a progressive buildable, so as soon as you build it, everything is already unlocked. And that goes for like the wood composter, that goes for the cooking station, a lot of different places. We've gone over all the different places, all the different things that you can build using it. Now here's a textiles bench. That's what it looks like. It does take up a little bit more room. I didn't really cover it or show it off when I was covering it, but that's what it looks like. The skinning bench, obviously oxidizer. I kind of packed everything in this tiny little building, but it works. Okay, so that is tier 1, tier 2 crafting breakdown. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you for joining me on this tier 1, tier 2 crafting breakdown. I really appreciate those of you troopers who have stayed to this point, as well as everyone who just stopped by for a quick peek and figured out what they needed to figure out, hopefully using my video, and are moving on to bigger and better things. Hit those likes if you enjoyed this and if it helped you out, and click subscribe and ring that bell to be notified of when I go live or upload another video. I hope this video was helpful to you. So with that being said, I am TJ West, this has been Medieval Knights, and as always, let's keep it medieval, people.
I'm sorry that I didn't hit you back when you call my line. Or did you even need to talk? Or you wasting time declining all your FaceTime calls? Cause you're not my vibe, but God just let me go to sleep. Someone get high with me. Yeah, cause I'm running away.